What up, witches, and welcome to Witch and a Bitch in a podcast. I'm your host, Darren.
And I'm Vicky. How are you all today? Hope you're doing really, really well. I'm super, super well because I'm sitting here, well, virtually sitting here between two of the glamorous witches around, can I just say?
I was waiting for you to ask me how I'm feeling, and I was going to say I'm feeling glam and fabulous.
I should have too.
Yeah.
I was just really excited to be sitting amongst you guys.
I'm actually, I was joking with my husband before I came on camera, and he was saying to me, he's like, oh, is Vicky going to do a face full of makeup? I'm like, I don't know if that's her thing.
I don't know how to do it all. I don't know how to do all that stuff.
Well, I mean, if two boys can pull it off. But anyway, so the reason why I'm so glammed up now, if you're listening to us on Spotify or on Apple or wherever else you're listening to us, then jump onto YouTube and check us both out. I mean, check us all out, but check the boys out because we're actually rocking the glam today. So
much.
We have Michael Herkes, also known as the Glam Witch, and he's been practicing, has been practicing modern witch for over 20 years. He's a devotee to the goddess Lilith and focuses his practice on crystals, glamour, love, moon, and sex magic. So Michael is the author of the Glam Witch, a complete book of moon spells, witchcraft for daily self-care, and the bewitching upcomer love spells for the modern witch. Additionally, Michael has been a contributor to Witch Way magazine, in addition to hosting Glam Fridays on the Witch With Me IGTV channel, which is at witch.with.tv. Giving tips and tricks for magical makeovers. He's a professional tarot reader and nationwide speaker, having presented at festivals such as Gather the Witches, Hexfest, and WitchCon, two of which I actually saw you in last year. And in addition to being featured in an exhibit on display at the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft in Cleveland, Ohio, joining us from Chicago, Illinois, USA, here is Michael Herkes.
Yay!
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be on and talking to you guys in the future.
I'm back here in the past. So you look still freaks me out. Today. I was going to say that still completely freaks me out. The fact that we're in different days. All three of us, different positions, like different spots in the world, the whole thing. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And like, by the way, can I just say you like beat the house down boots, girl, like full on, like.
Thank you.
By the way, Vicky, when you say someone's beat, it means like their mug has been beat, meaning that they're like.
Yeah, gotcha.
You beat that.
Very
mug,
glamorous.
You know? Yes, exactly.
Makeup on point.
Exactly. And your eyebrows are on fleek as well.
I'm gonna write all this down so I'm up with the lingo. I'm a cool one.
Well, I felt like, in all honesty, I was excited for this because I felt like, I mean, I'm a massive RuPaul's Drag Race fan, but like having you on the show gave me the, like, I'm not the type of person to do this ever. And having you living your best life, and I literally see you all over Instagram, all over Facebook. I love reading your stories. I mean, if you don't mind me sharing, for those that don't follow you, firstly, why not? Go follow him now. I'll put his links there and there. But you I loved reading that story that you shared the other day about that little boy when you went into a restaurant. And I loved it when you were talking about how you wear your caftan out in public, which like living your best life. But it was so candid the way you talked about it, saying that you normally don't have an issue with it, except when it comes to children, you obviously want to tread lightly because, you know, being too over the top. But then the fact that boy then went to his mom and said something to her, and then she came up to you. Actually, do you want to share the story? It probably sounds better the way you would.
Yes. Well, you already told a lot of it. So
let's do that.
But basically, you know, I for anyone who's familiar with me and sees my daily life, they understand I'm a caftan queen. I love me a caftan. And so I was out last weekend with some friends, and we're at a restaurant. I was going into the washroom. There was a boy there, backed out just to give him privacy and space, and then went back, you know, did my thing, went back to dinner. And on the way out, his one of his family members came up to me and said, you know, he just was absolutely in love with your outfit and your heels and everything, and right on, good for you. And I just thought it was so cool and empowering that the younger generations, I'm seeing more and more and more. It's just not an issue. Sexuality, gender, any of that. And I love that we're getting to that space in the world where we're having that. So that was a really special story, and I felt like it needed to be shared.
Yeah,
so I'm happy
that's
that
really
you were touched by that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful because I mean, like, I as we all know, I'm a huge advocate for both gay rights, trans rights, black rights, everything rights, like all the rights. But the fact that like you living your best life and just hearing how candid you're talking about, like the daily struggle that you go through, because obviously you know, you don't, and it's not about you and your own inner demons, because I know you're very comfortable with yourself, but it's, you never know how society is going to respond to how you are.
And that's very true. And I'll say right off the bat, like with the exception of this one little situation, I really don't give a fuck what society has to say. It's and it took me a really long time to get to that place where I just, you know, the idea of not being able to express myself creatively was more torture than whatever the outcome will be of living my best life. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. It just, for years, all of my 20s, being forced into the idea that I had to look a certain way, I had to dress a certain way, if I wanted to have a job, if I wanted to have a boyfriend. Having boyfriends who would be very, you have to wear plaid and khakis and these things, and I always joke about that and laugh that I will never wear plaid khakis again. They can all burn. But that's a little bit of that, but that's a part of the whole Glam Witch thing, and we can get into that a little bit more. But yeah, I just express yourself, live the way that you want to, feel good about yourself. I mean, I was trying to do some pictures and everything before I got on, just to test lighting and stuff, and I was like, I didn't have my face done, and I'm like, ooh. After, I'm just like, makeup is one of the biggest magics of the world, people. Come on.
Well, if there's one thing, like, since, like, because I literally had a friend of mine, so shout out to Natalie. She's one of my neighbors, so she has a company called Nat Pasnan Designs. So she's actually a designer, like graphic designer and stuff, but she always looks beat the house down. Like, you know, her makeup is always on fleek, like, and she has like bright red hair and all that kind of stuff. And I just said to her, I'm like, girl, I need you to teach me how to do makeup. She's like, what? And then, like, when I went shopping for this stuff, when I sent her the photo, she's like, bitch, you have better makeup than me. I'm like, what?
I remember when you sent me some makeup stuff.
That's what I've put on. So
I love it. I was like, that's cute makeup. I want some of that.
And then this is the first time I've actually used it, because I was going to do like because I teach obviously Zumba classes and stuff. I was going to do, like, for the Queen's birthday, I was going to like glam it up and be drag queen makeup and stuff. But then we were in lockdown, so I couldn't do it. So I'm like, all that money on makeup, I'm never going to use it. And then I'm like, Michael's coming on the show. This is my big outing. So, I know that we haven't actually even started the interview yet, but I just wanted to say,
for us, we love tangents.
But no, in all honesty, I wanted to say, like, so do we. As a 37-year-old gay man, like, just knowing that you were coming on this show and seeing you live your best life has actually inspired me to not live inside this box of what I think society expects of me, because, like, I've struggled with that for years, being someone who, like, I work at a gym. So when people see me and I'm like gay than sunshine, but like it took me a long time to be that in the gym environment because of the fact that I'm surrounded by these very masculine and buff men. And then there's this flouncy little flamboyant homo skipping around the gym being all, you know, whatever. And so it took me a while to get to that point, but now next level, like, I mean,
but come to the gyms here in Chicago and you'll be fine. You'll fit right in.
Oh, really? Get out.
I love it. But that's what I was loving about your story as well, and that you post things up on Instagram and things like that, because I think a lot of times that's where the real power is, in people seeing you live your best life and seeing you be okay with it, that in some degree it kind of validates for them that it's okay for them as well. So it is a really powerful thing, and I think it's often underestimated how much power or how big a difference stuff like that actually really makes. Is like both of you right now just living your best selves makes so much a difference. You never know, somebody else could look at that and go, you know what, I can do that too now. Because
exactly. And I mean, in a way that kind of is how I did it, you know, seeing a lot more of the you know, like the Billy Porters and the Jonathan Van Nesses living their best lives, wearing heels, you know, breaking the norms and the confines. I'm like, you know, my Lilithian self was like, oh my gosh, yes. Time to rebel, time to break free. And so I have, and I'm happy that I did, and I'm really touched by your story, and really happy that I've been able to help you with that. I've done my job.
You have in more ways than one. Like Vicky even knows. Like, I've been talking about this for ages, but there's just always that inner voice that always says, oh, are you ready for this? What if people reject you? What if they judge you? What if they say something to you? Like, you know what I mean? So you kind of just downplay yourself. So, and this is the thing, I'm a life coach. Like, I'm constantly coaching people how to
go through these situations.
But this is like next level. Like, I'm clearly presenting very feminine right now. Anyways, I digress. So,
anyways, yes, sorry, we better get back back to our actual interview. So in your new book as well, when I was reading through it, you talk a lot about witchcraft and what it is and some of the history and things like that as well in there. And this is a question that we ask all of our guests when we come on, because it was also part of the podcast. We wanted to just show people that there's no one way to be a witch. So with that in mind, how would you define a modern day witch? And this is just your opinion. It's just your opinion. So however you see it.
So I would say that a modern witch is someone who is very interested in finding the empowerment of self and doing that through nature. And now we've heard that so many times, left, right, and center. And I think a lot of people understand nature as being just kind of earth, like, you know, the elements and stuff like that. But the way that I look at is nature as all of the different feelings of it. So being at one with nature. So understanding your shadow self, understanding your darkness, understanding your sexuality, understanding pleasure, understanding fear, anger, all of the different things. And then using each one of those as a way to not only further understand who you are and reach your higher self, but then also manifest the life that you want by having those tools and resources available to you and having that understanding.
That was beautiful. I liked that. That's beautiful. And do you use the title witch or something else?
Yes, I do. I sure do. I love that title. And clearly I'm the Glam Witch. You know,
you definitely
I fall into the glam category. And it's funny too, because growing up my whole life, I was always obsessed with fashion, Barbie dolls, pink, all of those fun things. And my family would always call me Mr. Fashion, and it was just funny. And right after high school, I started working at Glamour Shots, which is a major like photography studio in the US. It was really big. A couple of years ago, it was like known for like those very dated like headshots with the big hair.
What is it? Studio 2000 here?
Very retro. I'm giving you vintage Glamour Shots right now tonight. And so I started doing fashion photography there. And what I realized is I think that's where I really started to use Glamour Magick, by having, even though it wasn't anywhere near confidence like what I have now, still having confidence in me to help bring out other people's confidence while they were taking these photos. And because it was a complete makeover, and then 3 outfits, and people would always joke that I always got everybody to do like boudoir sexy photos, but I was always like, come on, live your best life, you know, let's do it. And they'd get these big beautiful portraits of themselves to hang over their beds and whatnot, and you know, whatever. There was me. And so glam just works for me. I love it. And of course there's Glamour Magick that's tied into it, but I love the word. It's a buzzword. It's everything.
That's awesome.
I love it.
So like, I do want to talk about glam and Glamour Magick and the whole glam concept in a moment, but I want to circle back before we get there. As in, can we tap into a little bit of your origin story? Like, so when you first dabbled in witchcraft, how you first came to your path, who the influences have been over the years, like that kind of stuff. Like, how did we get
this
here?
Point. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I always say too, I first got into witchcraft from the glamorization of witches in Hollywood during the 90s. All of the TV shows, the movies, all of that. But I also always had a really deep connection to the moon. I loved the moon growing up. It's funny too, my birth date is 18, and 18 in the tarot is the moon. So I've just always been connected to things like that, and serpents. I mean, I have 3 snakes. I love snakes. I had them all growing up.
Really?
And then also just femininity. I just loved femininity. And so of course, you know, going through school, like, I don't know, like life, just growing up as a kid, and, you know, being, you know, told I couldn't be feminine or wear pink or do that kind of stuff. And then going into junior high and kind of, you know, figuring myself out. I clearly had a lot of bullies and people coming after me. And of course, the idea of, ooh, you know, I see what Charmed is doing and what all of this, and just witches in general, just they seem to be so confident. You know, I never saw them as good or evil. I just saw them as confident and fierce and everything that I wanted to be, and everything I wasn't at the time. And so eventually I started to hear, you know, witchcraft and Wicca being used interchangeably, and found my first book, Silver Raven Wolf, Teen Witch, at the local bookstore. I had my mom get it for me, and started reading. And what I loved was the understanding, like, it was completely not what TV was telling me.
No.
But I love the idea of the goddess, you know, that, you know, I finally could connect to something, femininity in some kind of way. I love the idea that they were open to sexuality. I love that, hearing that all acts of love and rituals, all acts of love and pleasure were rituals of the goddess. And so I felt cool. And it was through coming out of the broom closet that I was able to also come out of the rainbow closet. And that's how I transitioned into just coming out of the closet in my young teenage years. And but I was reading a couple of different books on witchcraft, and it was interesting, but I was just not really hooked in it. It wasn't until our lovely friend from Australia, Miss Fiona Horn, came into my life when I found her book, Witch: A Magical Journey, flipped to it, and Lilith was the first thing that caught my eye, because I had seen, I first came in touch with Lilith when I had a graphic novel of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was this very voluptuous, crazy mother of vampires in it. And I just thought she was so sexy and powerful, and I loved her. And so I saw that connection with Lilith. Fiona had snakes on the back of her cover and everything. I was just like, okay, ding, 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 jackpot. And of course, she was really, you know, the original Glam Witch. She was glamming it up. And, so I really just started to soak up everything that she had put out there in the world. And I call her my literary high priestess, because that's what she was.
I love that.
It wasn't until she had released the book Bewitch a Man, and she was luckily coming to Chicago on a book tour, so I got to meet her, and we've kept in touch since, and really became good friends over the last couple of years. So she's been my biggest influence in, as a witch, and it's solely been her. There's been a couple other people here and there. Phyllis Curott has been influential. I love her books. Of course, Christopher Penczak with Gay Witchcraft and that. But Fiona was really the one that pulled me in. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
She opened the door and I walked through it.
And I think you only just in the last day, I'm pretty sure I only saw it this morning. You shared photos of that book signing back in Chicago, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, and because that book was Bewitch a Man, it was a book on love spells. My new book that's coming out, Love Spells for a Modern Witch, I dedicated it to her. Just because many years ago she taught me how to bewitch a man, and in the process of bewitching a lot of other men, I learned how to bewitch myself. And I hope that I can do that. You know, with that book and my other books, and clearly I have, because you had mentioned, you know, how you react to my posts and everything. So it's just, it's just really lovely. I love her so much, and I miss her. She's in Australia now with you guys. So.
Yes,
she is. Finally, she's back.
Yeah, she's back.
She was on hiatus for I didn't even know how long she was in the US for.
It was a long time.
Like, because that's the thing, is that we grew up watching Fiona Horn on TV. And I know what you mean about the whole Glam Witch thing, because like we first got introduced to her being the lead singer of Def FX. Yeah. But then from there, like every time TV put her on, obviously she was expected to present herself in a very specific way for television, which was like obviously that was accepted back in those days for witches to be glamorous or not at all. But it's funny you mentioned this.
Not at all. I remember, like, please. One of the reasons why it took me so long to actually kind of like come out and share my story and start writing and be like a public witch was because of I saw all the torture that she got for for wearing pink. So or having pink book covers and being like a fluffy bunny and stuff like that. I'm just, you know, fuck it. I love pink. I'm gonna always wear pink. I like pink. I like black. I can do love spells. I can do hexes. Like, I like both. I'm dark and twisty on the inside, but sparkly and glittery on the outside. It's just the way that it is. And
I love it.
I'm really happy that people have changed their idea and perception. Are okay with, like, you know, just live your life. Do whatever the hell you want to do. And the color is a color.
It's just so funny because like my husband and I literally we're watching the rerun. Well, we're rewatching all of Charmed at the moment, and like so like we're up to season 3.
So who are you? Who's your star? Okay, let's go around.
Okay,
let's see. We got 3 of us here. Let's see if we have a perfect.
Let's see if we've got the 3.
Oh, as in who do I want to be or who do I think I am?
We can do both.
So based on my mood and temperament, I feel like I'm Prue. Because I'm like a moody bitch and like, I don't like, you know what I mean? Like it just brooding. There's always that undercurrent of broodiness and just kind of, you know, troubled life, not being able to hold down a man until I found my husband. Up until that point, it was just like, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I think based on temperament, I don't know. Maybe we'll go around for that. Let me ponder on that one.
I always wanted to be Phoebe through everything, but let's probably face it, I'm probably Piper. I'm probably Piper.
I both want to be and totally am a Prue. So
yeah, I was gonna say like, but I think my temperament is very Prue-like, but I think that my maturity level is more like a Phoebe. Yeah,
there we go. See, and I would say that I'm like a Prue sun, but with a Phoebe rising.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite because I'm a Cancer sun.
I like it.
Because I'm a Cancer sun with a Capricorn rising. I think I'm a, and then I'm a Libra moon. Oh, that works out. Because
there you go.
My sun sign is very Phoebe. My rising sign is very Prue, but then my moon sign is very like the whole balancing. I'm very much Piper. I've never thought of it like that.
We've got a whole new way.
Me either. They just came to me. So
that's brilliant.
New thing to do with guests moving forward. You know, astrological charm signs.
I love it. So, with that said, obviously, because obviously Fiona was one of your main influences, and we covered a few of the others as well in there. So, like, then we talked about how you got to Glamour Magick, but now for the untrained ear or eye, other than the makeup and the aesthetic, what in your, like, how would you describe Glamour Magick or glamour?
Well, it's really interesting because if we do history on glamour, it actually originated in the 1700s, and its definition was a witch's magic spell. And it came from the word grammar, because at that time, the only books that were like written and people could read were like spell books and divination and all of those types of things. So they equated grammar with glamour. And that's also how grimoire started to come into play. So glamour was a witch's spell for a very long time, and it wasn't until the late 1930s, 1940s that it got associated to Hollywood culture and glitz and fabulosity and fashion and stuff. My main, of course, it's really tied into what I would consider beauty magic, where you're working with the colors of your outfits to kind of help manifest things in your life. That can also transcend to makeup, and also imagery online, your presence online, different things like that. All very aesthetic based. Lovely baths, all of that good stuff. But I would say that the real main focus on it is it's the art of illusion, but with an AL. A lot of times you'll see how Glamour Magick is referenced as illusion, so the ILL version of that word, which is really creating a camouflage of deceit. It's really making something that's not there. But illusion with the ALL is more of a, it's creating a reference to something that does exist in the real world. You're pulling from that. So what I always say is Glamour Magick was also really tied to visualization. So getting an idea in your head, putting that mental image in your head and mind on how you want the world to see you. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that. If you're confident, you have the skills and you can just put it out there, great. But if you need a training wheels for that, you can start to build an energetic persona. It's kind of like that idea that goes around on Instagram and Facebook once a year, where it's like, what 3 characters are you from TV? Or what 3 witches are you? It's like that idea, like look at your favorite characters. And if you don't like characters, or you don't like any celebrities or something like that, you can also use archetypes like tarot cards or gods and goddesses, things like that. So looking at these different energy types or people or anything that you wanted to work with, start to kind of see how they act. How would they act? What is it about them that you really, really like? What is it about them that you can connect with that's similar to you? And then what is it that they have that you don't have that you wish you had? And then you start kind of making it and faking it until you make it, which I hate using that terminology, but it's a little bit of like a role play, but there's magic behind it because you're fueling it with your intention. You're visualizing that the world is seeing you in that specific way. And then there's lots of things that you can do from there with it. It's also really tied into, I always talk about mirror magic. You know, one of the first things that we do in the morning when we wake up, we look in the mirror. And I'm very guilty of it. I'm sure everybody else is as well. The first thing we do is look at what we don't like about ourselves and like pick about it and all of that kind of stuff. But if we are magical beings and we're all like known for using our intentions, and our intentions create our realities and stuff like that. If you've been a witch for a long time, you sometimes don't even need the spell and the candle and stuff to manifest. It's just a simple thought. So looking at yourself and thinking about what it is that you hate is only going to make you more like it's not cool.
Bring that
like
out.
Here is the tool. So I always say that, you know, another part of Glamour Magick is looking in your reflection and always saying what it is that you love about yourself. And then that will be allowed to magnify for the world to see around you and attract more things to you. So I look at glamour as just, it's kind of a, it doesn't get a lot of credit, but it's something that we all do on a daily basis because we're always picking out our outfits. We're always doing all of that. And you know, one of the other things too, I think a lot of people think that it's all about attraction, but Glamour Magick is also about protection and deflection and flying under the radar if you want to as well. It's the art of being seen or not being seen. It's up to you. But another thing too is that the more extravagant that you get with it too, the more people that are jiving with it and like, oh my gosh, I want to do that, or I love that. Where is that? Like, that's creating power. That's fueling your spell. That's another way to raise power when you're wearing your clothing and people are admiring it and stuff like that. And you've
100%.
Yeah.
If you're wearing a kick-ass outfit and you're getting like, people are looking at you and like you've walked into that room, you're turning heads, like that is power. If I ever saw it, you know what I mean?
It's not always, and I definitely say this in the Glam Witch, my first book too. Like when we think about, you know, someone that does that, a head turner, it's not always like the Victoria's Secrets model or the hunky heartthrob man. It's the person that can come into the room and own it. Completely own that room with just confidence and charisma and charm. And that's really the essence of Glamour Magick.
Do you know where my brain was going? This just shows how much I watch this TV show. I thought when you said charisma, like I thought you were going to say charisma, uniqueness, nerve and talent. You just walk in the room with your charisma, uniqueness, nerve and talent. I'm like,
no, not that. Well, that does. I mean, honestly, and to be completely honest, so I never really watched Drag Race. I was not my thing. It wasn't not my thing. It was just I had all these other shows that I watched, so I never really gave it a shot. But this last year with COVID, oh my gosh, I have become like the #1 fan of Drag Race, and I am so sucked into it. It is just crazy, and I'm just like, where was this? I'm like, what was I doing? So, but I guess, I mean, I was able to figure out how to be the Glam Witch without that. So now it's just kind of fun to watch. It's like my sports game. Like, I don't watch sports, but I watch Drag Race.
You watch Drag Race. but this is the thing, like, and I know this is kind of, I've gone off on another tangent, but even like I watch RuPaul religiously. I subscribe to the Church of RuPaul. At the end of every sermon, we say gay men. But no, like on the show, they often talk about like when it comes to drag queens and putting on drag makeup, they're like, you take on a persona and you act differently. Like even in the 2 hours that I've had this face of makeup, like I literally feel like a different person.
100%.
Like I feel so like
you do it, the more you feel like it's different. And so many of my like friends here in Chicago, like some of them have never seen me without all of this. And they're like, we want to see you like you know, Michael. And I'm like, that's me running to the grocery store, running out to do an errand or something. Like, or going to the bar down the street because I'm hungry and I need some food and I'm not trying to see anybody that I know. But like, But even that is a glamour. It's a part of you.
Yeah,
so
because you're kind of you're creating, like you said, being unseen in some spaces and things like that as well. But even from just then when you were explaining it as well, it's a very and even from when I was reading through your book and things as well, it's a very empowering practice and a very empowering type of magic that really goes a bit deeper than probably what credit it's given, because it's obviously a lot seen as kind of like a surface
only,
like a surface thing. Absolutely. But it's actually a very deep
but I think that's kind of one of the riddles to it. Like, it's so well, also because like the main tool to Glamour Magick is yourself. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. So like that's one of the other difficulties to it. But also, you know, I think a lot of times people think Glamour Magick is all just, you know, a compartment of love magic or something like that. It's all about, you know, being seductive and sensual and pulling someone in. But really it's not, because you can use Glamour Magick for a lot of stuff, like getting a job. If you're in sales, selling stuff and being charismatic enough to sell something to somebody, you can also use it for protection. Like, for example, I've told people before, like, if you wear sequins or shiny clothing, that's like a Glam Witch's armor, because it's a little, it's not only attractive and like catches the eye, but it shields you from negative energy.
Exactly, because like miniature mirrors everywhere, like just kind of refracting and reflecting all the light in all different ways. So, and it's also like it's like with any form of like projection magic, like with the evil eye and stuff like that. Like I know in my culture, being from former Yugoslavia, we used to tie a red ribbon around a baby's wrist, because it's to catch the eye away from there so they can't give you the evil eye. So I totally get it. Like putting sequins on and all of this stuff, it makes people wander everywhere else rather than looking in your eyes.
In your eyes.
Yeah. So like I totally get that. That makes so much sense. And it's funny, like listening to you talk about this, I'm like, shit, does that mean I've been a closet Glam witch this entire time? Because all the things you're talking about are things that I do on the daily. And I just like, I'm not saying I'm going to jump ship, but now all of a sudden, oh, I'm a Glam witch now. But like, in all honesty, like, because doing the whole, I get up in the morning, I go to my mirror, I do my morning affirmations, I do my shower, and like I do a ritual cleansing every day when I go in the shower. And like at least once a week, I will do like one of those things where you do put all the things in the bath and just pamper and self-indulgence. And when you come out of that, you feel like you feel so amazing. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think I must be a closet witch.
Like, and I love that you're bringing up baths, because that's one of my favorite ways to practice. It's usually on the full moon, having a very luxurious bath. I understand the principles of like doing the spiritual cleansing baths and the necessity for them at times. But I much prefer a glamour bath, because to me, that's not necessarily stripping energy. It's more, it's about just continuously like layering on the boosting stuff, rather than trying to strip yourself of all of your energy. Like sometimes a little bit of negative energy isn't too bad. Like it's just kind of how you look at it. You can use that negative energy in a good, positive way. It could be a healing thing for you to just kind of keep it a little bit. So instead of like, and I look at it the same way as I do like crystals. Like I'm never someone who cleanses crystals, but I'll charge them. So I look at baths the same way, and how I work with those, putting the fun flowers and the nice fragrances and all of that stuff, just to continuously keep me all wrapped up in that glamorous beauty bubble.
It's actually funny you bring that up, because I literally did one of those types of baths only a few days ago. I was talking to Vicky about it, because someone bought me for my birthday, because my birthday was only last week. So they bought me for my birthday like this concoction of like it had Epsom salts and Himalayan salt and all this other stuff. And then it had like lavender and jasmine, and I can't even remember the whole list of things. But it was like this in this jar, and I literally tipped the whole thing in there into the thing. It smelled amazing. And when I got in, I literally just felt this. I don't even know how to describe it. I felt $1 million. And when I got out, like I had to go teach class later on that day. And I was just like, I'm just not in the mood for being like switched on and give energy. I just wanted to just relish in that feeling of
yes. Yeah. I totally feel that. I feel that.
So like I know that we've kind of gone off on a few different tangents.
We get a couple. Oh, that's like them.
But one of the things I noticed about your first book, so when I first picked it up, because the reason why I bought your book, I saw you on now I'm trying to think which one it was. You did a talk about Glamour Magick on one of the conferences last year that was all on Zoom because of COVID. I can't remember if it was was it
that
Gather
was
the Witches?
The Witch With Me, the
Gather
of the Witches.
Gather of the Witches, yeah. So when I first heard you talking about Glamour Magick, and then I even remember talking to Vicky straight after. I said, oh my God, we need to get Michael Herkes on the show to talk about Glamour Magick, because the way you spoke about it was amazing, because it opened my eyes up into thinking, because I obviously had a preconceived idea of what I thought it was, and you've just like knocked that out of the park. But then when I ordered your book and I bought it, and when I was like, oh, Glam Witch, and I'm like, when I first read like Glam Witch, I thought, oh, is that really my aesthetic? But when I read the way you talk about it, like, because I'm a person who always reads what it says on the back.
Yeah.
And it just like, I was like, no, I have to buy this, especially because I love how you've put in here a magical manifesto of empowerment with the GLAM, which is the Great Lilithian Arcane Mysteries. So it's like GLAM being an acronym of that. And I was just like, oh, I don't know much about Lilith, but I do know that my perceived idea of her.
Now you do.
Like a badass bitch. Like, she's like, don't take no shit off no man or woman or anyone else. But so are we able to circle onto your relationship with Lilith? Because I know that she's your patron.
Sure.
No?
Yeah. And, you know, that even goes back to Fiona, because, or even I would say, I think Lilith was the one that led me to witchcraft, because, I mean, again, I found her in that comic of Buffy, right in the beginning phase of Buffy, where witches weren't really talked about on it. And then, you know, I was sucked into the Buffy universe, where then Wicca started happening, and then Charmed. And then that led me, you know, down the rabbit hole. And then I came to Fiona, I flipped open the book and Lilith was there. And I'm like, oh, ding, 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 I remember that. And at this point, I was like 10, 11 years old. And there still really aren't great resources available for Lilith, but there like really wasn't back then. And I could only use the school computer or the library, which blocked everything, because it was always like, she's a demon, she's the end of the world, blah, blah, blah. So I really got fascinated with going, like having a patron deity and, you know, going through the process of trying to figure out who it was. And Lilith kept on calling to me. And I was like, no, girl, I'm trying to do no demon stuff. Get out of here. And I was just continuously bombarded by her. I'd open a book and the name would be Lilith or Lily, or I'd have to do a project for school, and one of the characters was, again, Lily. And finally, Fiona was on the show Mad House.
I remember that.
Reality show about a witch. And in it, she disclosed that Lilith was her patron goddess. And that, you know, then I found out that she talked about it in her book that was only available in Australia at the time, The Coven. And so I got my little happy butt on eBay, got a copy shipped from Australia to Chicago. And that was really how I really started to connect with Lilith, because I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, I have to do it now. Like, you're channeling through my literary high priestess at this point. Like, it's a big sign. I need to just pay attention to the sign and the synchronicity and just do it. So Fiona's book, which only had like a little bit of stuff in there about, you know, how to work with Lilith, was very much the intro to that, building that relationship. But the majority of it was then, you know, meditations, looking at historical relevancies to goddess practices from that time, just different things like that. And a lot of trial and error, which can be rough at times. But Lilith, to me, you know, looking back and thinking, you know, what it was that, like, what message she had to come through me. And a lot of it is this glamour. And at first I remember putting it out and people were like, Lilith, glamour? No. And I'm like, well, I mean, she's the seductress. She's the temptress. She's a shapeshifter. She's badass and powerful and is totally confident. And so I was like, no, there's totally, like, she could, like, come on.
Literally just ticked all of the boxes.
So I was like, when I first was trying to decide, like, a book that I wanted to write, because at that point, you know, like, fast forward a couple of years, I've been solitary practice for a long time, and, you know, dipped in and out of practice a little bit in my 20s. But in 2017, I went to Hexfest in New Orleans and reconnected with Fiona in person there, and started, I connected with Witch Way magazine and started to contribute articles. And my first one was on Lilith, and it got a lot of good reception. And I started to, and also at that time, I was like, well, I gotta, like, create a good Instagram handle name. So I guess I'm just going to be the Glam Witch, because someone called me in New Orleans. So I'm just the Glam Witch now. So then once I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to write and what story was going to come through me, I was thinking about just a complete book on Glamour Magick, but Lilith was like, we're going to finally write that book that you wanted when you were young. You're going to finally write that book about me that's going to show me in a different light. And of course, glamour's a part of it. So I divided it up into 5. I thought about the 5 different areas of work that I do with Lilith, and each of them correspond to a various component of her. So we have the psychic abilities stuff, because she's between the worlds, she's up above, she's down below, she's everywhere, she knows things, wisdom, and paying attention to signs and synchronicities, so tarot, divination, all of that. And then there was the shadow component of her shadow self, which is connected to her astrology, because she has 3 astrological positions, which is also weird because I don't know any other mythological being that has 3. It has been named 3 times. So we've got the asteroid Lilith, the black moon Lilith, and the dark moon Lilith. And all 3 of them can be used in kind of a maiden mother crone aspect to figuring out your emotional wounds and how to integrate your shadow self into reality. So they basically, instead of like maiden mother crone, it's your wound, rage, and reintegration into society. So I can work with her in that aspect. And then there's, of course, the Glamour Magics, with her being an enchantress, sex magic with her being a seductress, and witchcraft, protecting yourself. Which to me was a fun chapter to write, because there's a little bit of a dichotomy, because of like, with it being witchcraft, we think like, ooh, badass and powerful, like slap down, hexing, stuff like that. But I also kind of twisted it. I was like, well, with that, you really have to make up your mind, because Lilith really never went after anybody. Every time there was an adversarial reaction to her and all of her myths, she just walks away. So, and that can also be considered being a little bitch. So, I'm like, that's that version of witchcraft that I put up. And I'm like, Lilith always had freedom of choice. So you as a practitioner have freedom of choice to determine which way you want to go. But that was a very long-winded.
No, that was great.
It's good.
Because she's such a misrepresented deity, like in general, that she still is very misrepresented with everything. So it's wonderful to hear you talk about her and like that relationship you have with her and the different aspects.
And I thought the time was right too, because I mentioned it, like the world is in a complete state of chaos. Like we need equality more than ever right now. We're still dealing with this, and I think Lilith has been, she's literally worn every hat that there is to wear. Her resume is long. And it's just interesting just seeing how everything has come over time. And I think really now is the era of her. It's the dawn of Lilith. And I would say too, one of the biggest connections that I had with her during this last year, COVID, it was kind of took me by surprise, because she opened up a new door for me to explore her in, where it wasn't the normal badass Lilith that we're all used to. It was sad Lilith. And it was the realization that anyone that's considered a badass and is strong and powerful, I think we all kind of act like they'd never had it bad, like they never cried or they felt horrible. Like that led them to being powerful, having that vulnerability. So the work that I've been doing with her in the last year, especially with COVID and a lot of different things going on, was like really doing a lot of path working and seeing the beauty in the breakdown. I know I'm stealing that quote from the song, but they're like, leaving Eden, leading all the different things that she's left. That, as powerful as it was probably a struggle. I know when I left horrible toxic relationships, that shit was still sad. I still had to go through it. And I'm better for it now later on, but it wasn't like I didn't have my breakdown along the way. So I love seeing that new side of her, and I keep trying to bring it up, because I think even if we're trying to emulate her or anybody else that would be considered a badass or someone really powerful and strong, don't lose sense of your own vulnerability. Like you can feel sad and you can feel these certain ways. It's only going to make you more powerful later on. So get in touch with those emotions.
Yeah, as a coach, I often say to people, like, normally you have to have a breakdown before you can have a breakthrough.
That's a great quote,
because like that whole breakdown process, like it's just that purging and that releasing, and that you need to work through the emotion. I say that as a Cancerian, with like most of my planets are in Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio, so I'm all the feels, but like it's a process of letting it out and letting it go. and living through the emotion. So then you can pick yourself up and be that badass on the other side of it. Because, you know, most people who have that thick skin or have that fight in them, there's a reason they learned how.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, just wake up one day and say, I'm strong. Like, you have to go through some shit to be strong.
Exactly. So,
yeah. And I think that's a really empowering thing as well for people when you are in that time as well, because when you do see her or somebody as in like that strong person or that badass or whatever, but to remember that you can then use that pain to grow from and to use it to create, I don't know, a better pathway,
Absolutely.
I suppose. Yeah, like it's an empowering thing for when you're in a bad space.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because that just got me thinking about something else too. Because again, a lot of times when people are in that kind of like sad space, they call on her to be empowered. But it was kind of the flip side with this time, where it's like an empowered person seeing the kind of sadness and actually exploring it from a safe space, like not when I'm sad, like, you know, and to create more depth and dimension and character in learning yourself and the nature of you. And that's really important. And I ended up writing this lovely little section in my book, Witchcraft for Daily Self-Care. And I realized once it came out that they cut it. And I was really disappointed, because it was a section that it was called The Seasons of You. Because something that I kind of always struggled with was kind of always being on as a witch. Like, oh, we always have to be on, or oh my gosh, it's a full moon and I didn't practice, I'm gonna, like, you know,
that's
be in trouble. Or something along those lines. But you know, I've learned that we all have our energetic seasons, and I know when, like, in a year's time span or whatever, like I usually have an area of time where I pick it up a little bit and then I have a dip down low. And the same thing can be said for all of the different components of your emotional landscape. We all have our ebbs and flows. We all have our seasonal shifts and changes. And that goes back to what I was saying before, where a witch is connected to nature. That part of nature, your inner landscape as well as the outer landscape around you, is really important to understand and learn how to harness. So again, you know, I'm really happy that I've started to go up down this different journey with Lilith to learn that the flip side of it. Like, I've gotten to this point of the confidence level and all of that. So let's go a little deeper and let's, you know,
allow you to go to that next little layer. Just peel off that little bit.
Now, some people would call that masochism, but
so it's actually funny you bring this up, and I think this is like so perfectly timed for me personally. I'm going to be a little bit selfish right now, but because all of these things that you're talking about are resonating on such a deep and profound level at the moment, because we literally, Vicky and I both had our birthdays recently, and so I subscribe to the idea that that month leading up to your birthday is like the dark moon of the solar cycle of your life. So, and we obviously, both of us, you being a June baby and me being a July baby, it's also for us, it's the winter solstice down here, because we're the opposite to y'all in America. So it's also the dark moon phase of, you know, that calendar. But then when we had the recent dark moon, we actually did an episode talking about the dark moon. So it was like we were talking about the dark moon of the lunar cycle within the dark moon of the solar cycle, within our personal dark moons of our birthday cycle. And so it's like we went through that dark patch, and I know this, that for me, that's when I'm literally, I switch off. Like that's, I cannot give anymore. I have no more, like my cup is not full leading up to my birthday. After my birthday is like my big, hurrah, I'm here. I've done the inner work. I've faced my demons. I'm ready to face you all world. Here I am. And it's like loud, proud, in charge again. But it's like now listening to what you're saying, it's actually making a whole lot more sense. You're talking about, like, you know, it's that the whole thing of not having to be on all the time. I mean, people think I'm all this, what's up, witches? Welcome to, this is my podcast voice.
Too, because you see me being all energetic and crazy and stuff like that. And I'm very extroverted, but I'm also very introverted. Like I'm extroverted on the weekends and I'm introverted on the weekdays. Like, that's just kind of how it is. I can't always be on. I don't think anybody can. I don't think it's right. I think if you're trying to do that, that's probably harmful to you. But I love what you were just saying about your birthdays and looking in that way. And it's kind of similar to me, because so I'm a mid-April baby, so spring. And spring and fall tend to be when I have my higher like levels of like witch energy, and like this is when I want to like really do stuff and try to bring stuff in. But during the summer, like right now in the winter, I'm not. I'm like a lot more blah, Like, I'm not as tapped in, or I don't have the energy to really do like too much magic. And I just think that that's interesting, looking at it like from a spirit point. If we're looking at the seasons, like the cross quarters, it's, to me, it's just really interesting.
Yeah, I've had it, and I hadn't thought about it that way until you just mentioned it then. And it's such an important thing too, to actually start to recognize our own patterns, so that when we are in that little bit of a lull or something like that, that there's nothing wrong with it either, that you don't sort of get caught in that you kind of spiral yourself down or anything like that, that it's okay for everything to ebb and flow, and to find that's okay. When it comes back to spring, I'll be back up and going, and or whatever.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have to ride out the darkness, you know, like we will always rebloom and rebound again, like what you just said. And like, I just wish I had learned that or heard that years ago, because it would have saved so much time, because now I'm just like, okay, whatever, you know, I'll be back.
That's
and
right.
Perky and, you know, my normal witchy self.
Well,
you know, at some point.
Lucky we're doing this, because who knows who's going to watch or listen to this.
That's right.
Well, I know, but also, see, I'm mad that they cut that out of the book, because that was really good. And I'm just going to put it in another book later on.
I was going to say, now you get to reuse it.
I'm just going to reuse it. So
I love it.
So, well, then obviously just segue, because obviously I do want to get to your most recent release, but because we have been talking so much about moon energy as well, what are people going to get from your complete book of moon spells then?
So the complete book of moon spells is, I'm just going to share it. I actually really don't like the book. I had a hard time.
Why?
A lot of it got edited down and watered down.
Okay.
It's bad, and I'm finally talking about it. But I mean, anyways, so that book, a lot of people love it. It's really, it goes through the 8 different cycles of the moon, rather than looking at the moon magically from just being like the new moon and the full moon, and that's it. Because, you know, a lot of times you look at the aspects and things like that, and that's when people practice, and that's it. But each cycle of the moon, each phase of the moon, I mean, in its cycle, has power to it and potential for you to do stuff. And so it kind of goes about using the idea of moon mapping. So looking at, you know, the new moon, of course, planting your intentions, and then, you know, the waxing crescent, as it morphs into that, then like an energy is being pulled into it, and it just kind of goes around into a circle. Different magical things that you can do for each one of those kind of phases, just to help continuously manifest things in your life. So it gives, originally there were 10 spells per moon phase, but I think it got cut down to 6.
But there's a lot. There's a lot. I was just flicking through it, and I'm like, there's literally a spell on every page.
There's a lot of spells in it, and if you're into the moon, that's a really, really good book to go with. But big secret kind of thing, there might be another kind of, you know, prequel to that book that I like better, coming out sometime soon. But that's all I can say.
Lovely.
You heard it here first, but don't tell anybody.
That's it.
So there's that, and then after that, I had the Witch's Book of Daily Self-Care. Witchcraft for Daily Self-Care, and that book came about. That's actually an interesting story, because I started writing another book, which I'm about to start picking back up, but I just felt like that one it wasn't the right time, and right after, it was like May of last year, I was like, I'm struggling to even kind of find myself. Like, I need to go into my self-care. And, you know, even going back to the Glam Witch, that book was all pretty much done and set. And then at the very end, I got this little like tinkle in my ear that like, I needed to write a chapter on self-care. So I threw that in at the end. And I was like, no, I think I need to do a self-care book. And so I pitched it. The publishers loved the idea, went through a couple of months of trying to figure out how it would work and things. And meanwhile, I just started getting into a daily self-care practice, very similar to Fiona's book, 7 Days to a Magical New You, which was a different things that you could do on each day to kind of like revamp your magic. So I really love that book. I'm so happy that it's out and it's doing really, really well. The illustrations in it are gorgeous as well. But I really designed it to be a really good mixture for both novices, so beginner level things, as well as witches that are more adept in, I think some of that comes from hearing from so many other friends and people in the community that there just aren't a good number of books for more experienced witches. So I wanted to give them something as well. So it basically gives you 90 different spells and rituals split in between the categories of mind, body, spirit, the environment, relationships and community, and then personal success. And it kind of builds on that, you know, get your mind in the right spot. Now I'm going to focus on the body. Now I'm going to focus on my spirit. And now I'm going to focus on the environment that I'm around. And then I can start focusing on my interactions with other people and then start drawing in different success. So I think it was coming out of COVID, the right time. I think it's also the right time because I think people are so used to doing a lot. And it's nice to learn to slow down a little bit and realize we have to recharge and refuel ourselves, or we're, you know, think about a car. A car's not going to get you anywhere if it doesn't have the right fuel in it. So we have to allow ourselves to rest and recharge. And then now I have a new book that's coming out in a couple weeks, which is Love Spells for the Modern Witch, which I have here. Ta-da! And fun fact, this book came into the thought process last year at around this time when I did an interview in Australia as well with Lucy Cavendish, and she had me on to talk about The Love Witch, which is one of my all-time favorite witch movies. If you haven't seen it, you have to.
I don't know if I've seen it.
I don't think I have. Oh
my gosh, well, we're gonna have to, and we're gonna have to talk offline about it because
absolutely.
I'll be here another hour and a half. So, but anyways, in it, you know, Lucy asked me a lot of questions about love, and I actually just got out of a really long-term relationship, and so I pitched a love spell book, and they turned it down, and then they came back around Christmas, and we're like, no, we want it. Do you still want to do it? And I was like, yeah. So I ended up writing it in 4 weeks, the entire month of February this year, which is crazy. I ended up writing 3 books in 6 months of time, which was just absurd, and I don't think I can ever do that again. And so this is the second of those 3. The other one, you know, keep an eye out on my Amazon page, and you know, you might see something soon. But anyways, this book really means a lot to me for a lot of reasons. One of the big ones is that if you're familiar with my writing style and you like it, this one I think you're gonna like even more because I'm more campy in it. I allowed myself to have a lot more fun. I thought very Sex and the City-ish, you know, while I was writing it. Just allowed myself to talk about things in love magic that aren't ever talked about or are glossed over, are not in your mainstream books. Like, for example, hexing. You know, I say in there specifically, let's stop looking at, first of all, let's stop pretending that hexing doesn't exist. Number one. Number two, let's stop looking at it as something negative from like Hollywood. Let's start looking at it as an empowering way to bring closure to our lives when someone has done something to fucking hurt us. Giving someone a cosmic witch slap, okay? Like, who deserves it? When you've done everything in the real world to kind of get, you know, even or something along those lines. Now, of course, there's ethics to it, so don't just go randomly at someone down the street. But if you were in a relationship, which, hello, love spell book, you know, and someone broke your heart, cheated on you, was mentally abusive, gaslighting you, any of that stuff, why not use your power as a witch to send some shit back to them? So I talk about that. I also talk about 3-ways and thruples, and doing, like, instead of a come to me love spell, a come to me lust spell kind of a thing, where if 2 partners wanted to open their relationship up and bring someone in, a spell to do that together, or even if you were wanting to find a couple, doing that. Just a lot of fun stuff. I have a spell to thank your exes, a lot of different like lusty, like love and lust potions and cakes and foods that you can eat and things like that, and an entire section on astrology because I love astrology. They really didn't want me to put it in, but I'm like, I'm gonna fight you on this.
Didn't they?
How come?
Here. Because they just didn't feel like it had anything to do with love spells, and I was like, okay, well, it does. And we also are calling it love spells for the modern witch. Any modern witch, the second we get into a room, we're going to start talking about astrology. Look, we did it before.
Sun, moon,
see,
like, what's the sun, moon? Like, what's all of that? You know, and I joke in it, like, it used to be the pickup bar, like, what's your sign? And now it's like, I don't even care about what your sign is. I'm going to figure it out. But when are you born? Like, that's now the pickup line. And so I just felt like it was really necessary to talk about that and to add again another layer of depth. So it's not just here's love magic, here's love spells. Like you can learn a lot. Like you can, if you're trying to find love and you know what you're most compatible with, maybe, you know, sketch those symbols into the candle that you're working with or something along those lines. So I love this book. I talk about the different kinds of love, you know, looking at it from a biological sense with the dopamine and the oxytocin and things like that, and how we physically are connected to it, because I'm very into practical magic in the sense that we have to have, when we have a better sense of things, like in the practical world, we can understand it magically better. And if you allow me to read one little thing,
yeah, of course.
Oh, please do.
That would be awesome.
I fell in love with this quote when I heard it. So it's in this little section that I call the healing power of love. And I say, and quote, the highly acclaimed psychiatrist, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, that says that there are only two emotions, love and fear. All positive emotions come from love. All negative emotions come from fear. From love flows happiness, contentment, peace, and joy. From fear comes anger, hate, anxiety, and guilt. It's true that there are only two primary emotions, love and fear, but it's more accurate to say that there is only love or fear, for we cannot have these two emotions together at exactly the same time. They are opposites. If we're in a state of fear, we are not in a place of love. When we're in a place of love, we cannot be in a place of fear. And I really love that quote. And I thought that that was needed, because I think a lot of times we get into relationships, we break up, we get jaded, we start building walls and start, you know, not wanting to put ourselves back out there. And when we do that, it's very natural. But I think at the same time, we're only hurting ourselves the more that we do that. So learning to be in a place of love rather than fear allows us to be, you know, more of service, I think, as witches, number one.
Yeah.
And then also too, when we think about just magical practice and as a whole, if you're doing magic from a place of fear, I just don't see it as being as wonderful as from a place of love. So I thought that was really important to kind of bring that back and tie that into just magical theory and magical practice. So I talk about that a little bit more. Of course, definitely the ethics of spellcraft and love magic, you know, not doing it on a specific person and trying to call on it more from, you know, let me bring the right person to me. And if we look at like the history of love spells and the ancient Egyptian times, Greek, Roman, the majority of the love spells that were done were like these horrible ones that were like trying to bind women, like just horrible. And so I think we've learned over the years that it's better to just kind of call upon the right type of love and have that person in your life. But another big one too, which I joke about, but it's very true. I mean, I think too, when we're doing anything magical, we have to think practically. It's kind of like, if you want to, you know, win the lotto, you have to play the lotto. You're doing magic for a job, you have to apply for a job. So if you want a new love in your life, but all you're doing is sitting at home watching Netflix, you're not going to find it. You have to put yourself into the right ocean, if you will. I mean, I joke about that too. I'm right here on Lake Michigan, one of the biggest lakes here in America. And I mean, if I wanted to find a dolphin, I'm not finding it there. So I have to, you know, if we're talking about like love and the fact of like, you know, there's plenty of other fish in the sea, you have to make sure you go to the right body of water for the fish that it is looking for. Like if you're always just finding, you know, people in bars, maybe those aren't but then you're also always having toxic relationships. Maybe you should change your location. You know, different like that.
It's funny that you say all of that kind of stuff, because it's like, even like, as I said, being a coach, we always talk about, we're not talking about everything that we do, that I do with clients, it's always about self-love practice. I bring it back to self-love. So the first thing I get them to do is to learn to say the simplest phrase of "I love you" when looking into a mirror. And that can be so confronting for a lot of people, because like when they say it, it triggers all the past hurt, all the past everything, and they get all this fear comes into their mind. And oftentimes when I talk about that, people, because that's something that rings true to me, that love and fear are opposites. People say, isn't the opposite of love hate? I said, no, they're both passionate. They're both passionate and they're both driven by passion. It's just that one is expressed positively and one negatively, but they're both still in the same spectrum. Whereas fear is the opposite. And then so I have to educate them on that. But even what you were just saying about, you know, when you have breakups and stuff, you have to put yourself out there. I mean, this is probably taking it on another tangent, but like, I don't often talk about this stuff, but prior to meeting my husband, I was finding guys in the same way, and all five of my 6 exes all cheated on me. So I then started to do the self-blame, and I was like, it's all me. Like, I'm the common denominator. It's my fault. And so you blame yourself. And then it's like, and then I literally said, I'm not going to put myself out there anymore. That's it. I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. And it wasn't until I stopped looking, because I stopped going to those places. I stopped looking at those places. And I had to do a little bit of self-healing, and I just opened myself up to my friends again, started reconnecting with them. Didn't even want to look for a guy. And then because I changed the proximity where I was going, all that kind of stuff, not just meeting the same guys that are out on the scene every week. It wasn't until I met my husband through my sister, random. I started going out with my sister, because I'm not going to gay clubs anymore. Fuck them. They're all the same. I went out with my sister to the club that she used to go to, which was not my scene at all. And now, fast forward 17 years later, I've been married for the last 5, turning 6 years, and I've been with my husband for the last 17 years. Like, and it's because you change the MO, change where you go, change who you see, change who you hang out with. And then all of a sudden love found me. And it was just like, but if I never did that and I just stayed stuck in my ways, I'd probably be sitting here 17 years later talking about the other 10 boyfriends that all cheated on me or whatever else,
No, I get you on that. And it's funny too, being single for this last year, coming out of a 4-year relationship. It's weird, because right now I'm really not. It's funny because I'm doing the promotions for the Love Spell book, but I'm also really not interested in dating. I'm doing all of the non-finding a boyfriend type of stuff, the self-love spells and the party, and all the fun stuff, hanging with your friends, summoning your good friend groups, all of that. Right now, I just can't even. I can't even imagine doing all of that right now. But no, so the book too, I have 5 different chapters of spells, and it goes through self-love, and then it goes into healing love, healing your wounds, and then it goes to protecting love, so or protection from love. So that's a fun one, because we do a little hexing in there. And I also do I call it it's a love witch tip, and it's to help you not fall into a guy's dick sand. You can enchant a black condom, black is protective. Before you go out and just have a purely casual sex spell. So there's that. And see what I said about there's some campy laughter in it too. So this is a fun book.
It is.
There's something for everybody, whether you are, and then it goes into from there how to find love, love or lust. Because I really wanted to have it be not 100% about finding love and someone to marry you. Like some of it is just, oh my gosh, I have a scratch and it needs to be itched. How can I get it tonight with magic? Or practicing sex magic. So sex magic is involved in the book as well. And then stuff for the couples out there to keep the spark alive. And then the last chapter is just a bunch of just little fun rituals or practices to celebrate love. And some of those are, making flower crowns for something, or a Beltane picnic, making love candles, and then even just having a single life celebration, or a love spell soiree with your best friends. So it's a fun book. It's very colorful, like me. So anyone who's interested in kind of tapping into their heart's desire these days, go ahead and check it out.
Well, that's another thing I love about it, because it's not just like everyone, as soon as you hear love spells or love, you think it's about being with someone else.
Attracting someone.
It has to start within first. So that's what I love, that you have got that whole section about self-love, because I find that's probably one of the most important things to do, is to love yourself. Then you can learn to love another. So I just love
a whole section on astrology and compatibility for your friends, family, lovers, anybody. So you can learn who to be with and who
to avoid.
Who to keep going.
Yes, and if you are like, oh crap, I got to deal with this person, but I know that they're this sign and I can't stand that sign. Okay, well, here's how you can maybe navigate that a little bit. So there's some of that in there too for people.
It's chock full of correspondences and things like that. There's so much information in the book as well, which I absolutely love. So like, you could pick it up being a complete beginner, and be able to go straight through. Like you even had like basic witch skills and things like that in there as well, to somebody who's more experienced, and you can use all the other different things as well. So that's what I really loved about it too, that it's that both, it's got both kind of aspects to it.
Yes.
And the healing.
I want to ask, which one is your favorite spell that you've done personally?
Oh, from the book?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. Hold on, there's a couple. Hold on, let me find one. Specifically
because there is a lot. There's
so
many spells in there, like actual spells in there.
Okay, so it's not really I'm gonna cheat a little bit just because it's the first thing that I see. So it's actually a lust-teeny potion.
Ooh.
So, that's actually like one of my favorite ones right now. And so because I'm one of the parts of glamour to me is also going out and enjoying nightlife and different things like that. So I'm really big into going out and hosting parties and events and things like that. So I love a good martini and some things. So I thought about, if we're gonna do a lust martini, a lot of times we see them like being like a chocolate martini or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, eh. So I really love Damiana liqueur. I'm actually not sure if you can get it in Australia. I think
we have
Damiana liqueur. No,
I haven't seen it.
Well, it's shaped in a fertility goddess bottle.
Oh, is it?
Like the Venus of Willendorf.
Yeah.
So it's really lovely, and it has a very spicy herbal taste to it. So I mixed that with some cinnamon whiskey, because cinnamon and Damiana, that's lusty, and it goes really well together. And then cut the spice down with some strawberry puree, because strawberries are used in love magic and lust. And then a little bit of lemon juice. And if you really, really like doing, if you wanted to have a rim, you can do a mixture of cinnamon and sugar, and then you can share that with the person that you're going to get down and dirty with, and have a nice time, have a nice martini, enchanted, of course, and put your intention into it. But I love that one.
Love that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get but when a gay boy hears the word rim, his mind goes elsewhere.
And I'm not even gonna lie, but also the dick sand condom spell, I love that one. That one.
I was gonna say that's pretty cool.
And then there's another one that is it's an apple spell. It's used for attraction. I'm trying to find it. Dun, da, da, da. They actually did an illustration for it too, which I was like, oh, you used one of my favorite ones. If I can find it any day now. So it's basically so you get an apple, and you put cloves in it, so you kind of make I want to call it a coriander, but that's not it. It's one of the it's like the smelly thing, like normally people do it with oranges, but so it's one of those. You wrap it up with a so you cut it in half, and you put a petition inside of it with some honey and some different herbs and stuff. Then you seal it together with a ribbon, and you have it hanging up for the 7 days leading up to the full moon, and you enchant it. And it's very like a hot, summery, sexy, come to me lifestyle. But that's one of my favorite ones that I've done before.
I love it. Beautiful. I also wanted to just circle back and ask something else that you mentioned before, that was about being an author. And I wanted to just say, because I know when you were saying a lot about things getting cut, and you don't necessarily also, I think there's also a bit of reality that people don't realize that that's what actually happens. Would you mind talking a little bit about that, the actual reality of being an author as well, is that you don't always get to have everything in there that you want, or things like that as well, isn't it? So for people to try to have a different perspective.
I was very, very lucky with my first book, The Glam Witch. It came out through Witch Way magazine. It was their first book, and I'm very close with the editor of it. And with that one, I got pretty much 95% my way. I designed the cover. The little emblem that's on it is actually in the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft now on display. And I designed all of the interior, and there was only a few things here or there that needed to be kind of stripped out for continuity. And the historical chapter, it just went on and on and on, and that could have been its own book. So that needed to be kind of stripped down and cut down, and it was difficult. And I think from going from that, where I had a lot of freedom, to then working with a major publisher, which was then the Moon book, and really learning the ins and outs of it, where I wrote and poured my heart into doing this book. And then they decided that they wanted it to be shorter, probably to save costs on money and production and things like that. That they cut a lot of stuff. And a lot of times they don't tell you what they cut until it's in your hands. And, you know, some of your favorite material gets stripped from it. And that's been the case in all of the books since. So because I've been working with that publisher more. But the book that will be coming out that I can't really talk about yet at the end of September is the last one that I've worked with them on. And I'm heading back to Witch Way to do more ones that I have complete freedom over, because I've learned that is really, really important to me. And I would encourage anybody that is interested in writing that doesn't want to do self-publishing, because even that, a lot of people criticize self-publishing and it'll be really difficult. But I would recommend trying to get in touch with smaller boutique publishing companies. You usually have a little bit more freedom with them. Of course, it's not. And that's another thing too. I mean, I think a lot of people think that writing books equals, oh my gosh, a lot of money. You're getting all this cash, and that's not the reality. I mean, maybe, 20 years ago, but now it's really not that way. So you have to kind of roll the pros and cons, and decide what it is that you really wanted to do. What was the purpose of having a book come out? Why did you want it to come out this way? So I wanted to tell my story with Lilith and Glamour, and I just wanted to write a book because I always wanted to be an author. And I really enjoyed the process. And then with these other books that have come out with Rockridge Press, Callisto Media, they allowed me to maybe get a little bit more of a fan base, to do something that was maybe a little bit more commercial, but then still put my twist on things. That would then help, the rest of the books that I wanted to do that were completely my freedom. So again, if you think about what it is that you're trying to do and accomplish as an author, and make the decision from there. But
thank you
I'm
for
happy
saying
you brought that up, because no one ever talks about it.
No, and I just thought that as a lot of, especially as like readers as well, you kind of think that you've put your stamp on the book, that's exactly what you wanted it to be and all the rest of it, and then a lot of times it's not. You don't really have a lot of say over covers and things like that as well. So I just wanted to bring that up so people can have a little bit more perspective when they see a book.
Well, I've actually noticed,
and that's a big realization too. It's and then realizing, like, because then I get on Google and I research and I'm like, what's going on, and literally like 99% of the publishing world gives no damn about what you feel about a cover. They're just going to give you what they think is going to be marketable. And so if you ever have a choice, or they give you something, I mean, you're very lucky. And not just that, but oh man, I had another thought in my head and it flew out. Oh well, it's gone.
It'll pop back when it wants to.
It'll pop back.
That's okay. No, you go on.
No, go on. I don't know what I was going to say.
I was actually going to say, like, I know that
meant to be said.
That's okay. Because I have actually noticed that there's been this almost resurgence of a lot of authors now going to these smaller publishing companies. Like once upon a time, it was all the big names. But I've actually noticed there's a bit of a trend where people are starting to go to some of the smaller, like obviously for different reasons. Maybe could be financial, could be more control, could be whatever it is. And I actually like that about the way that everything is going as well, because it's kind of I think let the authors do what they do best, which is writing the book. Because then we get to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, not calling it.
Well, think about it too, like you would like musicians, like some of our favorite musicians and stuff. They start out with these big record companies, and like all of the music is really, maybe they've come up with a couple of lines, but then it gets twisted and changed, and it's never what it was originally the original vision of. Until that person starts either creating their own production company or goes to a more independent one where they have more freedom after they've earned their stripes. There's just a lot to it. I think any creative field is going to be like that, and you have to weigh the pros and cons, and again, do your research ahead of time to figure out what is best for you.
So I guess then, just to make it accessible to everybody. So I'm trying to say, picture the person who's like completely, nah, glamour ain't me. What is an easy way to incorporate some basic glamour into your day-to-day life?
Okay, cool. So I love that you asked this question. I forgot to bring this up earlier. Because I think a lot of people too will be like, oh my gosh, glamour, I have to do everything that the Glam Witch is doing and wear pink and be crazy and makeup and all of that.
And like an hour and a half of makeup.
Yeah.
If you're like your glamour is personally what you want. Like it's literally how you want the world to see you. It's having fun and creative like control over it, looking at your body as though it's a canvas for the art and the magic that you want to put out there. If you are content in some sweatpants and a hoodie, all the power to you. That's you. Like it does not matter.
Feeding me for filth.
So again, I love doing, you know, the color magic. I mean, that's definitely a really good way to kind of incorporate stuff. So you want to bring love and sex and all that fun stuff into your life. Reds, pinks, great colors to add. If you wanted more peace and calm, blues. You wanted to absorb more energy, black. You wanted to reflect energy and kind of push things off of you, whites. Different things like that is one way you can definitely pull that in, whether, and even if you're someone who just like loves black, because I know a lot of witches, we are just obsessed with black. It doesn't have to be a whole head to toe outfit of one color. It could be all black with pink sleeves. It could be all black with, you know, a red belt. Something along those lines. It doesn't have to be the full outfit. Another really great way is just in jewelry. Crystals. So wearing a crystal pendant along those lines of something that you wanted to bring in, that you've enchanted with glamour. Using mirror magic. There's also, and I've talked about it in the Glam Witch, making a glamour puppet from a Barbie doll or a Ken doll. And having that as a tool that you can use. So yeah, does that answer the question?
No, it definitely does. It definitely does. Because like even just saying also, it on the very high level, like I didn't even realize how much of this that we do on a daily basis. That's why I thought, because I just wanted you guys to normalize it, because so many people might be listening, oh, glamour, that's not me. But you saying it in that way, it's actually, you just don't realize that you're doing it.
Oh, exactly. And then there's the idea of doing sigils. So you can do, like, sometimes I'll do with my foundation in the morning, I'll paint a pentagram on my face and blend it out, or a money sign if I'm trying to get money, or a heart if I'm trying to find love, like right in the third eye area, and, you know, mush that out. With my intention, you can, if you have like color palette, like your beautiful color palette of eyeshadow, you can draw pentagrams in them or other sigils or something like that. If you're great with the needle and a thread, sew your own little sigil in the inside of your coat or the underside of your fabric. If you wanted to, you know, reverse bad luck with like a little bit of glamour magic, try wearing things on the other side. So if you usually wear your watch on the right side, try it on your left side. Go out with your underwear inside out, some socks inside out, something like that to do a reversal. Then there's also, you know, a really great way to just bring success in your life is to put a bay leaf in the bottom of your shoe and walk with it all day long on you. There's so many things.
Yes. It's
Anywhere
just a
from
whole new world.
A lot of different things.
But this is what I love about it, because it's like it actually is a lot more accessible and a lot more in our faces than what we realize. Like it's just that people think, oh, but they assume glamour is only the aesthetic. But there's actually so much more to it than that, and which I love.
So much more. But I think that the aesthetic is a great gateway too. Because look, even you're having so much fun with your aesthetic and everything today.
I
mean, there are people like
my eyes are getting heavy, but
they're like, oh my gosh, I got this outfit and I'm wearing it for you today because it just reminded me of something you wore last year. Like that's a great entryway into it, because it helps building that confidence. And then from there, where will you go?
Yeah. No, I actually think that this is I mean, I'll have to come up with a very glamorous name, but I feel like this is the first of many times doing this. Because I actually feel very comfortable doing it. Like this, why not? We're in the day where boys wear dresses and girls wear like power suits, and you know, everyone wears makeup, and who cares?
Whatever makes you feel good and whatever makes you feel confident. That's what you need.
And that's it. That's literally it.
Yeah.
Anything, whatever it is.
Yeah. I love that so much.
If there's one thing I've taken out of today's talk, it's that I need to buy now your third book that I haven't got yet. It's been in my Amazon cart for so long. The self-care book, like it has been sitting there only because my husband told me to cut back on the speed. It was one point he's like, another book arrived today. Damn it.
No.
Why can't they arrive when you're not home?
Yeah.
But no, I actually do want to buy it because self-care is seriously so important.
Yeah.
So now I want to buy that one so that I can complete the collection.
And there's some Glamour Magic sprinkled in there too. There's a little glamour in everything that I do. So
yeah, and that's what I like all through yours, that it's got a lot of like healing and self-empowerment and self-love kind of things under there as well, with like the Glamour Magic and everything. So it's through all of it, which is really beautiful.
And I'm like, having been a book witch for so long, like, because I was all about reading. Oh, when I read one more book, then I'll have the confidence to do that spell. Or no, I need to buy one more herb. You know, I was that for years.
Yeah.
It's only, well, not only in the last year, but like mainly in the last year have I really amped that up, and I'm putting magic into my daily life. Like up until that point, it was kind of like when I wanted something, I would do a spell, and then on the daily, it would be kind of nothing. You know, but it's more so since the last like 1 to 2 years that I've really started to put like magic in my daily practice.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you'll love this book then, because it'll give you something from like just going for a 5-minute walk outside and sitting by a tree, to mixing an oil blend, to then the next day having a movie marathon of your favorite witch movies, to then, you know, then like making a smoothie the next day. So it's a little bit of, and then a crazy full moon ritual. So it's all over the place.
I love it. I love it though. That's good, because sometimes when you do want to have a lustini, you can have one.
Exactly. Or 2 or 3 or more.
No, I'm definitely an advocate for putting as many witchy things in the mundane as we can.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's what being a witch is all about. It's not just about the big grand cast a circle, call the quarters, blah blah blah. Some days I just can't be fucked with that shit.
I'm here with that. Cheers to that, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Yes.
Like, why can't I just get the blender out and make like a little, like a frozen margarita with a touch of like witchy poo in it? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yes, exactly. Well, think about it. I mean, we're so used to working with herbs and magic.
Yeah.
A lot of the different mixes of, I mean, whether it's a tea or it's alcoholic beverage, or you know, a lot of things using the herbal components of what it is that you're making. Like in the Love Spell book too, I have a potion to protect you from like evil love, which uses gin, because gin's from juniper, which is a protective magic. Elderflower, because that uses that. Lemon's a protective agent too. So you mix all of these together with a little bit of champagne to make it go down better, and then boom.
Yes.
I have
a magical cocktail.
Seriously, I have been drinking a specific gin with elderflower in it. That's been my drink of choice for the last couple of months. That's been my go-to. You've just given me a whole nother spin to that, because I'm like, here I was just thinking that's like, I like it because it tastes good when I go out, because I can drink a couple of them. You know, I'm not over it. Like I love wine, but I have to be in the mood for wine. Like, because for me, it's like a big, bold red. I'm not always in the mood for that. But so I've gone to now gin with elderflower, and I'm like, I didn't even think of the witchy side of that.
You have to try an aviation if you ever have had one of those. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So that has it's gin based, but it has creme de violet in it, which is literal violet liqueur made from violets from Russia, and it's so bizarrely delicious and perfumey and powdery, and then also a beautiful purple. With a little bit of lemon.
I'm sold.
It's gorgeous. One of the most witchiest drinks ever. I am in love with it.
You've now made me go, okay, I know I was gonna do like
dry, all of this.
Well, I was gonna do dry July. I'm like, nah. I'm like, I need to add some witchcraft into my daily life. Let's make a cocktail. Woohoo!
Why not?
Have a magic mimosa or a magical margarita. It's all good.
You've convinced me. I mean, because we talked about it when we were talking about winter solstice, about because we actually drank mulled wine recently, because winter solstice, because we're opposite to you guys. So like, you know, it's winter, it's cold, mulled wine, putting all specific herbs and stuff into that concoction. I'm like, why can't we just do that with every cocktail?
Yeah.
I was going to go to the bartender. I'm like, I want this drink.
No issue. Yeah.
This book says I need to drink this drink tonight. Make this for me.
Yes.
So when is the book all out?
Yeah.
So
Love Spells for the Modern Witch comes out on August 3rd. It's available wherever books are sold.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, I know I'm absolutely going to be sticking that in my cart with the other book. Just don't tell my husband. So they can both come together. But it has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for glamming up our lives to the next level.
You. Oh, I love that. Yes. Glam up your life. Like spice up your life. Like
exactly. Glam up your life. Like I seriously, like there's a part of me that, okay, one side of me wants to rip these lashes off because they're heavy as fuck. Like, I have a newfound respect for all you ladies that like to wear lashes. Even the boys that like to wear lashes.
Yeah, who wears the lashes?
Beauty is pain, baby.
Yeah, they are heavy.
That is real. That is real.
You hold them, they're nothing.
First pair of heels, then you'll know pain.
Yes.
Well, yes. I actually, that was the plan when I was going to do the face full of makeup for that Zumba class for Queen's birthday. I was actually looking for, but I worked out that I'm actually a women's size 13.
Me too.
Which is actually not so easy to come by. So I was going to buy some from one of those, like one of the stores that sells heels to drag queens. Cause I'm like, that's the only place you can find a women's size 13.
I'll send you some links.
Oh, awesome. Cause yeah, like it's like that whole billing-a-ding-ding, like why not?
Yeah.
But anyways, no, in all seriousness, thank you so much for bringing some glamour to the podcast.
Of course, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
it's been so amazing that like I've learned so much today as well. Like it's been awesome. I love it.
I almost feel like I now need to start adding Glam Witch to my tagline because I'm all about this life now.
I love it. I'm
do it.
So we're going to be sticking some links up there or down there, depending on where you're listening or watching us. You'll see the links, so you can follow Michael on all social medias, as well as we'll put the title of the book there, so you can look for the right one. Make sure you order the correct one. I want to put a challenge out there to all our viewers / listeners. I want to hear from you all. How are you going to glam up your life?
Yes. What little things are you adding? What little bits are you going to add?
Just let's start a little trend. So I want you to comment wherever you're seeing this, whether it's on the gram or whether it's on Facebook. I want you to post whether it's a picture. I mean, maybe you went like me and did a face full of makeup
did the full glam.
But let's start a little trend, like a little thread here of show us how you have glammed up your life, even if it's only a tiny little thing.
Yeah,
I love that.
Let's see if we can get this trending.
Yes, I love that.
Hashtag Glam Witches. Yep, done.
Yes.
But until next time, Michael, we're gonna have to have you coming back again. I think for sure.
Oh
this is way too much fun. Yes, let's
whenever you want. I'm here.
Awesome. And until next time, everybody, we'll speak to you all soon.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.